Neither Better Trades or any of its personnel are registered broker-dealers or investment advisors. I will mention that I consider certain securities or positions to be good candidates for the types of strategies we are discussing or illustrating. Because I consider the securities or positions appropriate to the discussion or for illustration purposes does not mean that I'm telling you to trade the strategies or securities. Keep in mind that we are not providing you with recommendations or personalized advice about your trading activities. The information we are providing is not tailored to any particular individual. Any mention of a particular security is not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold that or any other security or a suggestion that it is suitable for any specific person. Keep in mind that all trading involves a risk of loss, and this will always be the situation regardless of whether we are discussing strategies that are intended to limit risk. Also, Better Trades personnel are not subject to trading restrictions. I and others at Better Trades could have a position in a security or initiate a position in a security at any time.
Hello, and welcome out to another Insights. Thought I'd start off with this quote. Just found out the other day, and I don't think it could be any more fitting right now. It says, life has many ways of testing a person's will, either by having nothing happen at all or by having everything happen all at once. And as you know, I mean, I haven't been shy, and I'm not, I don't hold back on, what I share with you, and I try not to make excuses for myself. But man, this is just the last 6-8 weeks. This is absolutely fitting. The wedding thing and being sick, and then my grandma passing, and we just went not this last weekend, but the weekend before, went for her memorial service. The getting married thing, moving. We're still trying to pack everything up, and we have limited time to get that done, and then we're going to have to move, and then there's just tons of stuff going on. I've got other projects I'm working on. The Super Summit is coming up. It's just insanity. And honestly, I can't remember a time. And then, of course, this last Friday, I had my 40th birthday, which I don't know. It's just another day. It's not a big deal to me. It's just a number. So I know some people get all depressed, and my brother didn't want any parties, didn't want any big fanfare or anything like that. And I didn't necessarily either, but I think he probably took it a little harder, made a bigger deal out of it than I did. But my grandma used to say age is just a number. So she was 93 when she passed just a few weeks ago. So just that pure attitude she had was, I think, said a lot. So it's just chaotic, and I can't remember a time in 40 years on this planet where my life has been as chaotic as it has been the last 6 or 8 weeks. So I appreciate y'all being patient with me and being understanding, I hope. Especially considering here we are on Wednesday, and I've been trying for the last 2 days, and I know this is near the top of my list for priorities. There's so many things going on right now that it's just crazy. So, like I say, it's not an excuse. I don't really have a good one. I'm doing the best I can with the limited time that I do have. So, and it's a test, testing my wills. There's other things. Other projects I have going on that are a test as well. So I know there's the old saying that says, God's not going to give you any more than you can handle. But for me, at least at this moment, I wish He won't give you any more than He trusts you with, or something to that effect. And at this moment right now, I kind of wish He didn't trust me so much. I don't remember what the exact saying is. Obviously, the delivery stinks on my part, but yeah, it's crazy and chaotic. So let's get going here and do this. And that's the thing is, trying to trade and do classes and do the teaching and do the insights and maintain things and maintain a normal family life and all that stuff is challenging. So with that being said, let's get right to it. We're going to do the big guys. We'll come back shortly with the market update. It is actually about 45 minutes before the close. So what I want to do is cruise through these real quick and look at them. And then we'll go look on eSignal. I haven't had the time to do this recently, so I've got a little extra time today. I've got my kids this week for spring break, so it's a little more. Well, it's weird because having my kids, it seems like it's a little more chill. It's almost like I feel more laid back, where some of the work that needs to get done I've put on the back burner so I can focus on them. But the insights I have to get done, I got to get these done. And they're not always as timely as I like them, but I get as much done as I possibly can. And the other stuff right now is on the back burner. So I know that seems kind of weird, maybe backwards, but it is what it is. So we got about 45 minutes in the market. So like I said, we'll cruise through these. ABBV, this is a rollover from last week. We got a breakout of the symmetrical triangle. Although it's not textbook, the pattern's there, and if it continues to play out, then we'll keep going. So we'll see what it does, what it's going to do. So we'll go look at these. Like I said, I'm gonna cruise through these here, and then we'll go to eSignal and look at each of them. There's a few of them that I just looked at a few of them briefly as I was putting the numbers in and stuff. A few of them have already broken out, have already triggered entries, and they're one of them. It's one of the biotechs is up like $10. I don't remember which one it is. I want to say Kite, but maybe it's MCO. I don't know. I'll recognize it when I see it. But ABBV, we'll see. Here's the thing. We got earnings coming up the 21st on the 11th. So 5 days from now, Alcoa comes out. So we start earnings season next week and kick it off. So we'll have to be very aware of that, the stuff that's going on there. ADI, another rollover. We're kind of in the downtrend. We're slightly outside of the trend right now, but if it breaks back down, then I'll be looking for a move to the downside. A lot of these are starting to, you see Stokes and MACD both rolling over. That's very common. Most of these have that going on right now. So just be aware of that. If it's something different, then we'll look at something different. Here's ANLY. In fact, you know what I just thought of, which would be, I think, the smartest move. You can see here we've got this nice little base built. It's starting to raise up, starting to elevate. Maybe I think this is the one that's up 10. Let's just go look. Oh, ANAC. You can see there it is up 10.28. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to do a quick intraday update here. And this will actually be close enough. We can go through just this one list, and we don't have to go through two. So this will give us update of what's happening in the last 15, 20 minutes. So, and it usually is fairly quick. Let's just go back to ABBV and we'll start over. I'll wait for that. I'll take a sip of coffee. And yes, I know it's 12:15, but I'm still drinking coffee. I had some this morning, and now I'm on round 2. So there's ABBV, and obviously getting into it right now is not necessarily an ideal time to be doing this because it happens. But this is what happens in the market no matter what. You could, and if you wanted to catch every single one of these, you'd have to do the research every single day. So regardless of what day you catch it on, it's one of those things that it happens. And when I used to do these all on the weekends, I'd catch some you'd catch and they'd be outside of the range. You'd have this type of scenario where that was Friday. So it just is what it is. Welcome to trading, right? It's basically what I usually say because that's just reality of it. So we'll see what happens. And here's the reality of it. Sometimes it's easy to get cranky and go, oh man, I can't believe I missed it. It's up $1.20. I could have been in this morning. And first of all, would you have pulled the trigger this morning? Because usually we don't trade in the first little bit, right? Second of all, even if you would have pulled the trigger and it's up $1.20 today, what if it's down $3 tomorrow? Because we really don't know, do we? I mean, if it's down $3 tomorrow and it hits your stop and you get stopped out, you're going to sit back and go, woo, man, I'm glad Tony didn't do those big guys till Wednesday. Because otherwise I would have been in that thing and I would have gotten crushed. I mean, that happens too. This thing could be up and hit the target tomorrow. We don't know. So the reality is we just have to accept what is, and that's the hard part. It's easy to Monday morning quarterback and say, well, woulda, shoulda, coulda. If we would have just done this, we could have done that. Yeah, that's a piece of cake to say. But saying it and doing it are two different things. Analog devices, okay, there's an updated, let's see, 12:02. Okay, so that's 17 minutes ago. It's actually gone the opposite way we're looking for it to, but it's not moving very big, so... ALNY. Pharmaceuticals, biotechs are up a bunch today. Obviously, you saw the other one, ANAC. This one's up 382. Again, I mean, we could have gotten in a couple days ago. Woulda, shoulda, coulda. It's $5. This thing could just keep on running. We don't know. You never ever know. So wait and see what happens to that. There's the other one, Ancor. Big move to the upside today, just a big blast off. So it's always nice to catch those ahead of time and watch them run like this and be in them. But we never know, do we? So Crown Castle, excuse me. Crown Castle, oh, this is a telecom, that's right. I keep thinking of CCI as, what's the cruise company? Carnival. I can't remember what their ticker is, but the CCI always rings a bell. But we're at a peak, we're looking at kind of a triple top, double top, triple top type of pattern here. We had a quasi kind of evening star. We've got just lots of hesitation there, about 86.79. So looking for a break to the downside. There we go. It finally jumped. And these lines keep jumping. I have no idea. I've done an upgrade. I don't know what Extreme Charts is doing. Genesis, the developers, Who knows what they're doing? I'm surprised they haven't fixed it. They have historically been very good about correcting issues like this. Um, there have been very few issues. I mean, I've had this for a decade or so, and not many issues at all. And usually, when there's an issue that's this significant, they take care of it. I could think of maybe, I can't even think of one that's been this big of a deal. But anyway, so it's kind of annoying. So if you see the lines and they look out of whack, it's probably because they are. Comcast. Breaking out to the upside today, you can see though the volume. We still have an hour left in the market, but odds are it's going to get maybe to the average line. In other words, we're still on this rally, but with really light volume. Look at the volume on Comcast just the last 2 months. It's been extraordinarily thin. Extraordinarily thin. So this is what's making the market challenging right now. Is just going higher on very thin volume, so it makes it hard to believe the rally. It makes it hard to get excited about a bullish move when the indications are that we could be in for a big bearish move at any moment. So CME, I'm loving the looks of this. The only thing I don't like, excuse me, just a second. There, I had to pause the recording and cough a little bit. This cough is almost gone. I think finally, for real, it is. I know I've been saying that for about 3 months now, but that flu hit, and it seems to be mostly. This is actually the worst it's been for a while. So, and of course, it happens right when I'm trying to do the insights. Surprise, surprise. So we've got with CME. What I love about this is we got a giant, huge bearish engulfing pattern. We engulfed the previous 2-3 weeks worth. I mean, you're talking. We engulfed these 5, 10. 14, 15. The previous 3 weeks we engulfed yesterday. The only thing that would have made it better would be huge volume. It was basically at the average line, which was bigger than the previous 2 weeks. So we had a hangman / harami the day before yesterday on Monday. We get a huge bearish engulfing pattern yesterday that engulfs the entire 3 weeks before that. And then today we get some follow through. Be curious to see where it's at right now. It's bouncing up a little bit. We've hit the Bollinger Band. So we may bounce up a little bit, which I love to see, actually. I'd like to see this bounce up a little bit more and get up a little bit higher. And then I'll be watching the action in the next few days for a break to the downside or some type of stall out here at the 94, 90, 95 area, basically. So, yeah, this one I like right now. It's probably one of the favorites on the list because we've got a double top going. Huge bearish engulfing pattern with 3 weeks, a slight increase in volume. Would have been nice to see more. And we essentially, if you call that a double top, which it basically is, we broke the midpoint yesterday with the bearish engulfing pattern. So tons and tons and tons of clues, if you will. So CMI, and we'll see if we can make these jump. If you haven't figured it out on Extreme Charts, if you click on the screen outside of the bars, it will make them jump instead of waiting for it. Basically, I have a double top here on CMI. It was, when looking at the pattern, it was already broken down, so it needed to move back up. So this is kind of another dead one after the move today, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. So another double top with CNI. And you can see today as we dropped off quite a bit, then rallied back up. The whole market's done that. It looks like the market's slowing down a little bit, starting to form a little bit of a top, but we'll see. It might do that for another few days or a week and then blast off again to the upside. So, don't know. Express Scripts. Was looking for this to break down, but you can see as of today, we've got a bullish engulfing pattern going. Gaps down this morning, then rallies. Volume will probably be about average by the time the market closes in about 35 minutes. So, we'll see. This one may be another one that's, it's too far away. It looked like it wanted to break to the downside. You can see the indicators, and of course today's been updated, but Stokes is pointing down. MACD was pointing down. We're sitting there right at the 50-day. In fact, you know what? Watch this. I haven't done this for a while and don't do it very often. It's too close. It's going to go. Oh, no. There we go. We're going to change that. Is this CME? No, this is ESRX, Express Scripts. 69.80, 64.87, 68.81. Dang it. 68.81. Sometimes it requires a change of plans, and there is a change right there that would make sense. If it runs up to this point, that's 69.40, and stalls out there, if it gives us any indication, the doji, any kind of pattern that says that it's stalling out there, then it may be a good opportunity to jump on the downside. ETN, Eaton. Oh, man. See, these are the frustrating ones. You know, it's nice double top yesterday, and then today, of course, it's breaking down. Realistically, I mean, $1.62, it's down. It was $1.50, $2 of potential, about $2 actually. So it dropped off, made its move, and not much to do with it now. I'd actually expect to bounce to the upside. So this might be good if it bounces back up to that area and then starts to act like it's a reversal. So we've got support there at 57.90. So these are the ones that you wish you had caught, but like I said before, it doesn't matter which day you go look at charts. Whenever you go look at them, you're going to find stuff like that. So it is what it is. Fang. Let me get those. There we go. Looking for this to continue to move the downside, but it went up. It's been up. Well, it's up $2.50. And very light volume, though. I mean, the volume's not even halfway to the normal right now, and you're talking it's 12.27. Let's go over here and see what it looks like real quick. 290, so it's up a little more. But again, very light volume. You can see the volume bar is not even close to the average. So I don't put a whole lot of validity in that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Some of these we just got to wait on. Foot Locker, starting to form kind of a tweezer bottom after today. Very light volume, but it's made a move to the downside and looking for it to continue. In fact, you can see here that Stokes and MACD are both, I mean, they're kind of flat, but they're turning a little bit bearish. So I don't really put a whole lot of stock in the indicators. Kite Pharmaceutical, another pharma. Obviously, that whole sector is up today and up pretty big. This one's already made a pretty good move, too. So it is what it is. Kors. Michael Kors. This is all those purses and clothes and, you know, high-end women's accessory stuff, basically. So you see it's up a little bit today, but very light volume. We've got, you know, a doji or an evening doji star back here about 3-4 weeks ago, bearish engulfing pattern a couple of days ago. And so we've got some definitely top forming indications here. So I think Kors is probably going to be bearish from here on out. Moody's, we've got a nice double top taking place. Just waiting for it to break the midpoint there at about 93. And if it does, there's about almost $4 of potential there. So I like the looks of Moody's. NTRS had a nice little bolt to the upside about 3 or 4 days, and then it's gone sideways for the last month. And the bands are pinching, as you can see here, which all you have to do is see the stock price. You can see indicators are both turning bearish. So if this breaks that 63.30 area, pretty good chance we're going down to about 60. So notice, though, we also have earnings on the 19th. That's only a couple weeks away. So we've got to be aware of that. And XPI, very similar. We've got this downtrend that has been in place for about a year. It's been validated and verified, and it is trying to break out right now, but it's so far, you know, 2 or 3 weeks ago it failed. It's popped up there 3 or 4 times now in the last 2 or 3 weeks and failed to break out every single time. So if it fails and it breaks down, love the looks of it. About a little more than $6 of potential there for it to run. Actually, excuse me, about 7, almost $8 of potential. So that's about a 10% move. And if it happens quickly, as you can see, it's done before, obviously that could be a big home run. And on that note, hang on. Just thought of a little side note, thought I'd mention here. Looking at this, and you know, we don't get these very often. Usually we're looking at stuff that's, you know, a 4 to 6 or 7% move. But something like this, NXP Semiconductors with an $8 potential and an $80 stock, that's a 10% potential. That's big. That's a big, big opportunity. And one thing to keep in mind when you have something like this, generally speaking, you're looking at a more volatile stock, typically. Obviously, if you know the normal range or a range that it could do very quickly is 10%, then typically it's a pretty volatile deal. Okay, you're looking at this thing was about 63, 64 just 2 months ago. Now it's at 85. So it's moved 20 points. It's moved about 30% in a month and a half. So we got to keep that in mind. But something that one point that I wanted to make real quick is that with something like this where there is a higher level of risk because of the potential move, the potential volatility, sometimes it's better to take a little smaller position. If you normally do 10, then you might scale back to 5 or 8. I mean, obviously it's up to you. It's your call. But generally speaking, I'll scale back a little bit. I might go to 6 or 7 if I was going to do 10 normally, just because there's a higher level of risk. But also the big thing is that if you have that higher potential rate of return, then you don't need as many contracts to get the home run that you're looking for. So we all love home runs. They're always fun to get them. And even if you only had one contract, it's still a lot of fun. So just something, like I said, just a side note I wanted to throw out there to keep in mind. Parker Hannifin, Industrial Machinery, you got kind of a double top going there. Dark cloud cover a couple days ago. It's just stalling out right now. If it breaks that 106.70 level, then we'll be looking for it to head lower. Starbucks, getting the hiccups all of a sudden. Starbucks broken out of that short-term downtrend. Somewhat bullish right now. It looks like it, but the volume is very light. Same thing today. It's up 69 cents. But the volume, and granted, this was an hour before the close, it's still not going to get very high. And we can go over and look at it on eSignal. Look at Starbucks. It's up 81 cents. But look at the volume. I don't know if you can see it down there, but it is still smaller than yesterday. It's the smallest volume day in weeks, if not this entire period that we can see. It is. It looks like the lowest day. Yeah, it is. There's no other days in the entire chart here that we see, which is back to January, so about 4 months worth of time. And this is the lightest day of volume. So we have to keep that in mind. It's hard to look at the price and say it's running. Well, yeah, but there's not a lot to it. And one day we could get one of these days like this where it just sells off big anytime. So earnings coming out on the 21st, so be aware of that. TripAdvisor. This is one that I am a little jaded by. Because what you can see back here, that right there, that day, that big giant day right there where it ran like $12, I think it was, 76.50 to 87. Yeah, it closed up like $11.5, $12. I got into puts that day. After about 2 or 3 hours of the market, it was going sideways. We were down here by this shadow. It had started selling off. And down here about $76. The intraday chart looked good. The daily chart, everything was lining up for a bearish play. I even asked a couple of my friends, other traders, what would you do if you saw this as a picture? What would you do? Both of them looked at it and said, buy puts. It's a perfect setup. Lo and behold, I actually had an order out above the market, hoping to get filled a little better price. And lo and behold, it hit. Because this thing took off and ran about 8 points in like 2 minutes. I wasn't even watching it. I had gotten up, walked away from the computer, was doing some other stuff, working on other projects around the house, and I was down $2.50 in literally 20 minutes. I went back to the machine about 30 minutes afterwards, and after I'd placed it, and I sat there and watched it for a few minutes, and then I got up and decided to go do something, thinking that's just not doing anything. Boom, takes off. Down $2.50. I'm like, what is going? I'm looking for news. I'm trying to figure out what the heck happened. It slowed down, pulled back a little bit, and then looked like it was going to take off. So I got out, took my $2 hit in about an hour's time. I believe I paid $5.40 for the option. So $5.40, that's what, 40% hit in an hour. 40% in an hour. Then I finally found the news. They'd inked the deal with Marriott. Apparently, they didn't do business with Marriott, which TripAdvisor, excuse me, being what they are, an internet engine basically, advising people about trips. Now they've inked a deal with Marriott. They're going to generate revenue for Marriott. And, of course, they announced it in the middle of the day. And this is a perfect example. I think I've talked about it here. I got super cranky. I was like, what a bunch of morons. I can't believe that they announced something like that in the middle of the day. Why would they do that? Why wouldn't they wait till after the market? Oh. I didn't have an answer for why they didn't wait. But as soon as that came out of my mouth, because I remember saying it out loud, I went, oh, thank you. Thank you for doing it in the middle of the day, because you know what would have happened? This thing probably would have stayed down here about $76, and it probably would have gapped up. You can see the next day what happened. It ran up to about 91, $92. It probably would have gapped up to 91 or 92. And with the gap, they would have sucked all the time premium, all the premium out of my options. I probably would have gotten $1.50 for $2 for them, not $3.40. So first I was cranky, going, I can't believe they did this, and I was mad and I was upset. It's what happens, right? Something like that happens, and you get cranky about it. And then reality set in, and I went, wow, it would have been much worse if they would have waited. So anyway, do I have a little bone to pick with TripAdvisor? Yes. Do we, as human beings, want to get even with people or things that cause us pain? Yes. It's human nature. So do I want to go make some money off of TripAdvisor? I do. Am I going to keep that in mind and focus on it? No. It's stuck in there. It's not going away, because obviously that was months ago. But I can't hold that against it. It wasn't. It is what it is. It happened. So what we've got here is we've got some support and resistance levels there that I put on, but I also see you could make a wedge out of this. You could drop this line down to here and make it a wedge. I just left it kind of a flag type of pattern. Generally speaking, a pattern like this, if it breaks the lower line, is a continuation pattern. So we've got the downward trend, and as you know, probably a bearish wedge would be a symmetrical triangle that's angled upward against the prevailing trend. So this is basically the same thing. So we've got this short-term trend going against the prevailing trend, which the prevailing trend, if it breaks down, will usually win out. So if this breaks down below that lower line, we have to stop there at 63.83, which if it takes a week or two, that'll probably have to be adjusted up. But then there is some support there right at 60, which is a round number. But if it doesn't hold that as well, then we're looking at 53.80. So what I'd consider doing with this is probably taking a normal or maybe even a slightly bigger position than normal if it breaks the lower line. Take out part of the position at 60 because there is some support there. And then put a fairly tight stop on the rest of it. But if it breaks down and continues, then I'd be looking at 53.80. So that's what I'd be considering doing with that. And we'll finish off with the XCC. Oil and gas, which has made somewhat of a comeback. It's still kind of stagnant. I'm not sure why there's two lines on there, but okay. Was looking for this to break to the downside. And obviously with today's candle, you can see it's still basically stuck kind of in that range between 93 and 100. Very light volume, as you can see. I mean, the average is 1.15 million, and an hour away from close of the market, we're at 400,000. Not even half. So, in fact, we'll go see real quick, XCC. Yeah, it's picked up a little bit. I mean, 629,000. But it's still kind of like, that's still the lowest volume day. We have 20 minutes left in the market. So it might reach tomorrow's. It'll probably reach, yesterday, excuse me. It'll probably reach yesterday's number. So there we have it. Let's see what's going on here. We got mostly there. Let's see what the core 30 looks like. Let's go big change. Oasis. What is that doing? Every time I look at this, it seems like it's up a bunch. Okay, maybe not blue. I mean, it looks there's lots of green versus red. It's what, probably 3/4 green, 1/4 red. But keep in mind, there's a lot of these that have very, very light volume. Tesla's up 10. That's pretty solid, actually. How's Amazon's volume? Very light volume on Amazon. So it's up a bunch, but there's not a whole lot of volume there. The volume on that was tiny. Baidu volume's very, very light. Cisco kind of a bellwether. Volume's tiny on Cisco. Look at that. I know it's kind of hard to see, but I'll put the cursor right there. Yeah, that's one of the lightest volume days in months. So volume is weak, so we have to take that with a grain of salt and be cautious with it. Excuse me. So we have it for the big guys. We'll get this produced and uploaded for you right away, and we'll see you back a little later with some a market update. So I'm going to wait for the market to close, and we'll get a current update, or at least as current as we can, and we'll come back with that and get that to you. So you'll have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.